here, who are the chair and vice chair of the Future Focused Finance programme, talk us through all things FFF and what the programme can offer you. I will pass you over to Suzanne and Simon, who can introduce themselves, and then we can get going with the session. Just to let you know that we are going to record the session today, so that others who are unable to join, because I appreciate that it is half term, can watch the session back. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll get to them towards the end. Okay, over to Suzanne and Simon.
Okay, I think I'm going first, aren't I? Yeah, wonderful.
Planned this, didn't we, Simon?
Yeah. So Sophie, you have to remember to cue us.
Oh,
You've got to cue us.
sorry.
All right. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Simon Worthington. I am the finance director at Leeds Teaching Hospitals. But more significantly for this purpose, I'm the chair of Future Focused Finance, which is part of the One NHS Finance sort of movement that we have in the NHS in England. Okay. So I'll just, I'm very pleased to see you all here. Thanks for coming, and it's great that Suzanne's joining as well. And we're going to tell you a bit about, this is sort of introductory session to what is Future Focused Finance. What are they all talking about? Why are they all wearing those yellow or golden lanyards? Okay, so first thing, One NHS Finance came about a few years ago now, and is a program basically of finance staff development for the country, and you know, we've done 2 really big engagement exercises, online engagement exercises with all the finance staff in the country, of which is about 16,000, to find out what we can do the best to support everybody. So in the first engagement thing we did on that, we came up with this sort of approach, which is there are three sort of bits of One NHS Finance. We've got Future Focused Finance, which is what we're talking about now. We've got the academies, and we've got the innovation work streams. Okay, so we're talking about Future Focused Finance at the moment, and that actually is something that's existed by itself prior to One NHS Finance. And we just celebrated our 10th birthday, I do believe, yes, which is absolutely wonderful. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so it's part of One NHS Finance. And its real objective is to bring everybody together, all 16,000 finance staff, to how we can work better together, collaborate, network, and share good ideas and support each other. Okay, through what are, you know, in different ways in the last few years, very, very challenging times. Okay, so our key areas of focus is promoting NHS finance careers, supporting our staff, networking and sharing good ideas, demystifying NHS finance, and that's particularly important when we're talking about for the management community and clinicians. And really, you know, absolutely fundamental for me is making NHS finance a great place to work. So if you're thinking of a career in finance, you know, the obvious place to go with a great moral purpose of the NHS is to go and work in the NHS. Okay, so we'll start off, if we flip to the next slide, Sophie, I can remember I'm doing this next one. Okay, we'll start off with some of the sort of underlying ideas about Future Focused Finance. Okay, and forgive me if I'm being a bit philosophical here for a moment, but you know, I think that have I ever actually met anybody who comes to work to do a bad job? I don't think I have. Okay. Virtually everybody comes to work with a sort of I've got to do this job, but I want to add value. I want to feel that what I'm doing is important, etc. And in my experience, I've been in the NHS now since 1988. It's a long time. There's, you know, there can be, because we're all in the hierarchical structures and everything, you sometimes get where it's all very controlled, and one aspect, what happens then is that people don't, their innate enthusiasm to do great work gets a bit squashed. Okay, and I don't know if, I hope you've never experienced that, but you know, I know colleagues who've been a bit squashed like that. So one of the really key things for Future Focused Finance, it's a huge network, as we'll come on to, of colleagues working together to want to do good stuff for the NHS. And you know, to harness our collective enthusiasm, and if we have that enthusiasm, we will do great things. So we've got our little quote there from Ralph Waldo Emerson, for you know, those of a literary bent will know he's some form of author. Anyway, and he said, "Enthusiasm is the mother of effort, and without it, nothing great was ever achieved." And that is a thing that intuitively I personally agree with very much, and is a fundamental sort of tenet of what we trying to do with future focused finance. Okay, next slide, please, Sophie. And we follow on that theme. Okay, many hands make light work, which is a phrase. It's a truism, but it is true. Okay, so as we, you know, years ago, I would be talking to people, and it is a long time ago now because things have moved on, and they'd say, I'd be talking to them about future focused finance, and you know, getting engaging their staff if they were finance directors and what have you. And they'd often say something like, "Oh, well, I think that is very important, and I've tasked my deputy. I've tasked them to be getting on with it. But the thing is, they're so busy. They're so busy, they've just not got to it yet," they would say. Things like that. I've heard this many, many times. And what the trick is there is, don't task the deputy to do it. I mean, deputies are wonderful people. I'm sure they can, you know, what we need to do is invite our team, our colleagues or our enthusiasts to do their little bit. Yeah. And if you do that, many hands make light work, things get done. Okay. So this is a key when we talk about some of the things like accreditation and stuff like that, we've come on to. It's absolutely, you know, if we're all working together, we can do really big things. Okay. So next slide, please, Sophie. And the other thing is, future focused finance and One NHS Finance, it's a voluntary thing. Okay. You don't have to do it. Right. We want you to do it. We encourage you to do it, but you don't have to do it. Okay. And it is what you make it. All right. So if you put something in, you put your hand, you're in a meeting. Can I have a volunteer? Someone says to help out with X, whatever it is. And you put your little hand up and you say, "Oh, I'll give it a go." Yeah. You're putting something in. Yeah. But you will get lots out from doing that. Okay. And it is what you will make it. So equally within your own organisations, if you know, one or two of you, you know, there might not be a lot of future focused finance stuff going on in your particular organisation, but if one or two of you get together, you can make it happen. Okay. And we get on to, I think we've got some slides later on about how we progressed over a period of time. But you know, years ago, future focused finance used to be a minority sport. It used to be, you know, there used to be like a few value makers. Now there's thousands. Okay, and that's because people have got together and they've made it happen in their own organisations and places with all their friends and colleagues that they're working with. Okay, so it is what you make it. Be enthusiastic, join in, or not. It's a voluntary thing, but we encourage. Okay, next slide, please, Sophie. So, you know, building on that theme, if we harness our enthusiasm and our innate wanting to do good things for patients and for the NHS, we're wanting to volunteer, we're wanting to put something in, that becomes a movement, and we're all doing something. If we all do something very quickly, big things happen. Okay, and we get big change. And we have seen that. We have been doing this long enough now. It's not just rhetoric. We see it happen. Okay, see it happen in individual organisations, across places, across ICVs, and regionally and nationally. Okay, so really encourage. Thanks for, I mean, you've done something by joining in on this session. That's really important. Thank you very much for doing that. And as we'll see as we go through, your individual actions contribute to those big changes and big improvements. Okay. So I think that's sort of, there's a bit of intro about what we're about. Okay, we now get into some of the detail of what we're actually doing. Okay, so I'm guessing I'm still going on this slide because
Sophie hasn't. You're passing over to Suzanne now.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so Suzanne's going to talk us through a couple of slides, and then I'll be back in a bit. Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Simon, for the intro, and just for everybody on the call. My name's Suzanne Robinson. I'm Chief Finance Officer at Greater Manchester Mental Health. I'm also the SRO for the Value Makers Network, which we'll hear a little bit about later on in our presentation. And as Sophie's already mentioned in the intro, I support Simon as Vice Chair of the Future Focused Finance Programme Board. So I've been involved in this whole programme. Well, I'll probably take right back till when I joined the NHS, which is, I'm just trying to tot it up in my head now how many years I've been in the NHS. I think it's 23 now, 23 years of working in the health service. And I came in on the graduate training scheme. And at that point was sort of taken aback, I guess, about the size and scale of the organisation and how amazing it was and how many opportunities it had to bring. So I've always had an interest in how you build careers, how you build opportunities, how you give opportunities to people who might not see them there, how you attract talent. All of these things were always something that interests me from my very, very first days. And I've been very privileged and lucky throughout my career to have opportunities to be able to get involved and do a little bit more, whatever level I've worked at. So everything that Simon has said about sort of putting your hand up and getting involved, whichever role I've worked in, there's been opportunities that I've grabbed hold of and got involved in, and I still do that right now in the role that I do now. We'll say, actually, I'm really interested in that. I think I've got something to offer, or I don't really know about that and I want to know a bit more. So that is what this whole programme is about. And I was thinking, as Simon was talking about, who and why you might have joined this webinar today. And it could be that you are a value maker already, and you want to sort of have a remind yourself of all the good things that we do, or the new things that might have happened and you may have missed. It could be that within your organisation, or you come to a new organisation and FFF isn't as prevalent as it perhaps might be in other roles that you've had. And you're thinking, how do I bring all of the stuff that I had in my previous organisation to this one, and where do I start? So I think hopefully what we're going to talk through today in some of the slides will give you some opportunities and evidence and resources and things to start doing that within your organisation. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm just going to touch on the first one of the 5 themes that Simon introduced us to, which was about promoting NHS finance careers. So this has been a massive thing for us, hasn't it, Simon? And we set ourselves all sorts of ambitions when we're talking about the programme, and we want to. So when you go into Google and you say, I want a career in finance, we want the NHS to be #1. We want it to be the top of the list. So to sit alongside the pack of, some of the, Deloitte or whoever it might be, the more traditional finance routes, we want the NHS to be seen as that, because we think there's a massively wonderful and rewarding career to be had in NHS finance. So that's the sort of ambition that we set ourselves in this, and we felt really hard about how can we achieve that. So what is it we need to do differently, or what is it we need to do to open up this career to as many people across the country as we can? And so we've got some wonderful resources, and there's one on the screen there for you around the careers website that we've developed. And what's really great, if you haven't been on this, please do go and have a look. We've got some great case studies from individuals who've had different entry routes into the NHS, have had different career progressions or journeys in the NHS, have got there's vacancies and all sorts of things for you to go and have a look on. But what we're really trying to do is promote this inside and outside of the NHS. One thing we quite often hear is, how do you get in the NHS? It's quite a closed thing. How do you get into this sort of mechanism? And I think hopefully we've moved away from having to have 35 years of NHS experience to be able to come in and do a role within the NHS. It's much more now about what skills have you got, what can you offer, what are your values, how can you bring something to the roles that we have, and experience isn't always the thing that we need to look for. So I think this entry route piece in particular really opens up to people who would want to get in and not sure how to, whatever level you may be at. So there's some really good resources in there to help you go and have a look. And I think what this does as well, it really opens up the variety of roles that we've got in the NHS, just within the finance team, but opportunities inside and outside of finance. So a really fruitful and rewarding career is to be achieved. Can we just pop on to the next slide, please, Sophie? Okay. So touched on a little bit around this, around what's important for us in terms of, and for all of you in terms of attracting new people, diverse roles, lots of different skills, experiences, talents into the NHS to help us to grow and improve all the time. So there's some really, really great examples of this. A couple are mentioned on this slide, but particularly through some of the networks and the meetings that we have, listening to hearing how different organisations and people within them have sort of grabbed this and thought, what does that mean within my local communities? So how can I reach out to my local communities and schools and colleges and universities and go and showcase what it is that we do in the NHS, so that we're reaching people that perhaps didn't know? And again, the resources that I've mentioned previously will help you with that if that's something that you're passionate about, or if that's something that will be helpful within your particular areas. On our regional value makers meeting a couple of weeks ago, and Sophie will vouch for this, we were having conversations, weren't we, about actually there's certain cross-section of our teams that we're really struggling to recruit. We're really struggling to attract people to come in at certain levels. So we probably need to do some targeted work. And this is a great way to do that, because they were talking actually about sort of band 4 and band 5 levels, and we're really struggling, I think, in certain geographical areas of the country to attract people. So again, going in and talking to local schools and communities, talking about the opportunities that we have here, showing that career path and that progression and how rewarding a career could be, is a really important part of it. It does also, because it's not just about attracting and recruiting, it's about retaining people. So Simon talked about, some of how it can feel sometimes, I guess, when you sat in a hierarchy, and how actually we need to be able to make sure everybody at every level is getting lots of opportunities, so they want to stay within the health service and they want to grow and spend their career here. There's certain things in there that we sort of pick on, that we want to do better on. So things like the staff survey, and Sam's going to talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. But PDRs are one of those, aren't they, Sam? We look at the PDR statistics that come from the staff survey results, and they tell us that the majority of people don't get a great experience from a PDR. And that's just so frustrating, because that is a wonderful opportunity to reflect on how somebody's getting on in that role, think about how the priorities of the organisation can become part of what they're doing, but really, really importantly, how you can develop a personal improvement plan to help that person develop in whatever it is they're interested in. So such an important point of anybody's role. But if you've had a bad experience from a PDR and you become the one giving a PDR, how can we help you with that? So again, there's some really wonderful resources that we've got through our ONF that can help with that. So I encourage people to go and have a look. It could be something as simple as that is the thing that you take from today. Say, actually, I can go and take this into my organisation and make a real difference with it. So all of those sorts of things we're going to be pulling together into a new strategy, which we'll be launching in May, which is around promotion, recruitment and retention. And that will be through the Finance Academy. So all of the things that I've talked about here and much more will be picked up in that. Next slide. And I think I'm handing back to you, Simon.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Suzanne. So, yeah, so the next sort of pillar of what we're doing is all about supporting our colleagues, supporting our staff. Okay. And I would reflect, there's absolutely enormous amount of stuff that happens and is also available. So one really big piece of advice for colleagues, if whatever you're dealing with at work, you think, oh, what do I do about this? Or is there any support for that? Go on the One NHS Finance website, which is easily found. You just Google One NHS Finance and you poke about on there for a bit and you'll find something that will help you. Okay. Right. So in terms of supporting our staff, health and well-being, really important that we all feel, we've all got problems at home, at different points in our lives. We difficulties at work and can be feeling a bit down. So really important that we recognise that if people are feeling okay, they're feeling well, they're going to do great work. And as well as just being a moral thing that we want to support colleagues who with their health and well-being. So Future Focus Finance on a national basis runs monthly well-being sessions. It has Health and Wellbeing Champion Network, which is one of those things you can put your hand up for and say, I'll do that. and then you become someone who within your organisation can do things to help coordinate and support health and well-being in the organisation. And there's an annual health and well-being conference. Okay, so really great. I'll give it there's a fabulous example in West Yorkshire of just one thing that happened around this. So there's a lady at Bradford Teaching Hospitals who's in finance, who's also a yoga instructor. Okay, so during COVID in the run out, she was doing sort of Friday sessions for the Bradford team, you know, on a bit of sort of breathing and yoga type stuff over Teams, right? And the Bradford finance director mentioned this in one of our finance director meetings. And then immediately everybody said, oh, well, it's on Teams. Can't everybody join in? Okay. So now that lady does sessions for everybody every now and again. All right. And they're really good. And that's just one way. That's a good example of it's a health and well-being thing. It's also an example of how that sort of enthusiasm and that I'll do something can spread. So really encourage to think like that. In the NHS, like any big organisation, there quite often is, you know, organisational change. So, and we've just been going through a big chunk of it, haven't we, from point of view of setting up the ICBs and all the changes in NHS England and Health Education England, etc. So there's a really comprehensive support package for supporting staff through change, going from everywhere from CV writing to mock interviews, which are a really, really helpful thing. And also around different working practices that can help. Okay, so again, that's building on the enthusiasm of colleagues. So I have a lady in my trust who wanted a bit of, you know, interview practice, and through the network, we immediately got some people who were outside the organisation who gave her a mock interview, which she found really helpful. So that's just another example of how we can all work together. And the person who did that mock interview, that might have been the one thing they did that year, you know, but doing that was really important and helpful. Okay. And then in terms of resource packs, you know, there really is a huge wealth of information and then sort of how to do guides on the website. Okay, so we've got the career stories, we've got supporting staff resource pack, guide to meaningful appraisals, picking up on what Suzanne was just saying. You know, there's a lot of tick boxism that goes on, isn't there? Considerate colleague, winter wellbeing, hybrid working resource, flexible working guide, and parental leave guide for managers and employees. So again, you know, it's not the case. Sometimes it's good to reinvent the wheel. You know, it sometimes frustrates me. People say, let's not reinvent the wheel. But, you know, innovation, you've all got to try and think about things differently. But there is, I need to do something to help my colleagues on, you know, we've got a bit of an issue where we're not being very sort of kind to each other, for instance. Well, here's the considerate colleague sort of resource pack that might help. Okay, so a huge wealth of work there to support our staff, but all the time, when we say it's not a top-down thing, it's about us, the whole NHS finance function through Future Focus Finance, learning how we can support each other and if we support each other, we will do really great work for patients. Okay, so I think that next slide, please, Sophie.
I'm going to pass it back to Suzanne now to talk about the yellow lanyards.
Talk about the yellow lanyards, the golden ones, golden ones, yeah. So value makers, I don't know how many on the call today are already value makers and are already in possession of their yellow gold lanyard. If you're not, and I guess you want to know a little bit more about what Sam and I are wittering on about today, you know, in the comfort of your own office or home, the Value Makers Network is a really, really, really great place to start. As we said as part of the intro, I think we started with about 70 value makers way back when, 10 years ago, and when we launched this whole programme, and we have way over 3,000, I think now, across the whole of the country, which is massive. So absolutely emphasising that many hands makes light work point that Simon made earlier. And, you know, the sort of the growth in this network, the movement of this network has been, you know, quite amazing, I think. You know, again, really privileged to be part of it. But if you're looking for a way to start, you know, please do start with this. You know, it's really simple to sign up. And if you want to know a little bit more about what VMAC, which is the Value Makers Annual Conference, is about, you can actually see the last one that we did only a couple of months ago in November, because it's on the website. And so you can listen back to that and sort of dip in and dip out on things that you may or may not be interested in. But I definitely would encourage you to do so, because it was brilliant. What that annual conference allows us to do is do the showcasing of this network, and all the amazing things that everybody's contributed to it. So I can absolutely guarantee, if you're sat in your organisation, you've got a sort of a problem to solve, I can guarantee somebody solved it in a different organisation somewhere else. So those showcase sessions, again on the website, have a really great opportunity for you to go and have a look, and learn from somebody else. We sort of shamelessly call ourselves, I am the queen of plagiarism, which I carry that honour, and I'm blatant about it. But again, I will go in and I will beg, borrow and steal as many ideas as I can whenever I get involved in anything with FFF, and bring it back to my organisation and say, how can we do something similar, or how can we take this idea and make it even better? You know, what can we do with some of this stuff? And that again is the power of the network. I think the times where you sort of kept your little, you give good practice to yourselves have long gone now, and the willingness to share and for everybody to get the benefits of some of those great ideas is definitely rife within the network. So do you know that the biggest question I ever get asked is, when we're encouraging people to get involved in Value Makers or any of this work, says, I'm too busy, I've got too much to do, and I just haven't got the headspace to do it. But again, this network, the resources, I can absolutely guarantee it will help you do your job. It will help you help somebody else to do their job, or it will allow you to tap into the network to talk to like-minded people who are experiencing exactly the same set of challenges that you probably are within your organisation. So that's, I guess, why Simon and I still do this. And I always say I always need a bit of light and shade in my job. And so actually, if we just had it jam-packed with all the the more challenging aspects of our role without the opportunity to do some of this other stuff, then it would be a pretty depressing place to work, isn't it? So actually, to get involved in this, I guarantee you it will pay you back in terms of time and helping you to do your role. So save the date, 7th of November is our VMAC conference for 2024. Please do register. I guarantee it will be worth getting involved in. I think I'm handing back to you now, Simon.
Yeah, fabulous. Thanks, Suzanne. Move the slide on. Yeah. Oh, right then. So we're now talking about making the NHS finance a great place to work. Okay. So, and that is real fundamental aim of what we're trying to do in One NHS Finance and Future Focus Finance. And one of the things that we have to help us with this is there is an accreditation scheme for organisations, for providers and commissioning organisations alike. Okay, and that accreditation scheme is broadly speaking around what you do to support your staff, finance staff development, and all the good stuff that we've been talking about. And this started out many years ago in the Northwest, who developed it, and all credit to them. They're really fantastic work there, and they've been running the Northwest for some considerable time with great success. But what we've done in through Future Focus Finances and One NHS Finance is spread that all across the country. Okay, and now there's 83% of trusts and ICBs have at least level 1 accreditation, which is absolutely huge compared to, it was just only in the Northwest a few years ago. Now, this accreditation process is overseen by the Finance Leadership Council, which sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it? But it's just basically a meeting of with Julian Kelly, who's in the middle of that picture there, and then people like me and Suzanne who are involved in the work. Okay, and it is there as you go through the levels. The first level is just a sort of desktop exercise. I can't speak. A desktop exercise where and again, this is a typical thing. Oh, I gave it to my deputy to do and they haven't got around to doing it yet. No, no, no. You spread it out amongst the team. Everybody check a bit. Have we got this? Everybody come together. And you basically, oh yeah, we've got these various things. So we think we pass. So we send that in and, you know, the finance director signs it off. Yeah, we have got all these things. And then you get your level 1. Level 2 is more rigorous and, you know, there's more assessment required. And then you have, you know, you actually have to have an assessor come along and meet with the team or what have you. And then level 3, the same, but more rigorous standards. Okay. And what we're seeing is that, as I said, 83% of organisations have got accreditation now, which is wonderful. And people are starting to move up through the levels. So we get more and more people at level 2. And an expanding number of trusts at level 3, which is absolutely wonderful. And it really is about commitment to creating a workplace environment that promotes and attracts and develops the best people. Okay. Now, there is evidence, which is it's absolutely marvelous. I'm so delighted with this next slide. Can we have the next slide, please, Sophie? Cheers. Right, now then, you might say, hang on a minute, these lines are very close together. They are, but let me explain a little bit. So this is feedback from the National Staff Survey. I do encourage you to, if you get the opportunity to fill in the National Staff Survey each year, please do that because it's really, really important. Okay. Basically, when everybody fills it in, you get a range of scores. Okay. And what we just need to recognize here is that the score theoretically goes from 10 to 0, but it doesn't really. So if you're at sort of 8, you've got in any of these areas, you are internationally renowned for what you're doing. Okay. And if you're sort of in the 6s, you know, you need to be slightly concerned. Below that, you need to be very concerned about what's happening. Okay. So what I hope you can glean, so that it's quite a tight thing, but you've got the various different sort of summary questions here. So are we compassionate and inclusive? Are we recognised and rewarded? We each have a voice that counts. We are safe and healthy. We are always learning. We work flexibly. We're a team, staff engagement and morale. All right. And what you'll notice is you can see a difference between those trusts that have no accreditation, those trusts that have got level 1, which are slightly better in all these scores, those trusts that have at level 2, which are slightly better again, and those trusts that have level 3, which are noticeably better in terms of the scores, which, right? And you can check this out in reality. I mean, Sophie, I will bring Sophie in because Sophie has a nice story on this. You were talking to someone the other day, weren't you, Sophie, about accreditation? Or yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was doing a presentation to organisations that weren't yet accredited, and there was an organisation that were level 2 that joined the call as well. And a man put their hand up and said, I've worked at an organisation that's not accredited, and I've worked for an organisation that's level 2, and I can tell you which one I prefer working at. And he said having accreditation has made a real difference to the working environment. Yeah.
So it really it's not a tick box exercise. It really is, if you come at it in the right way, you know, you're evidencing the great work that you're doing to support and develop your staff in the team, and you will feel that difference. Okay. So I mentioned I've got Bradford on my mind for some reason. Well, Bradford, you know, and their finance director is a really great guy, but he recognised that they've got some issues in terms of how the team were working, and they've done a huge amount of work, and you know, doing well-being sessions and things like that. And their staff survey has rocketed up from where it was. They were the most improved trust in the country, I think, last year, weren't they? So you know, these things aren't immutable. If teams aren't getting on and things like this, and there's a bit of tension in the office, or doing all the things in the future focused finance and the things that you do for accreditation will help all those things and will make things better. Okay, so I think, how many is it? 8 organisations. How many was organisation? Oh, it's 8 organisations in the country don't have a value maker. Only 8, and about 30 that aren't accredited. So we really are getting down, you know, to where we can all support those last few trusts to get moving on this. And then, you know, that'll be absolutely wonderful if we get to the point where everybody has got at least level 1 accreditation. Yeah. Okay. So next slide, please. Am I going over to Suzanne, or is it still me?
Over to Suzanne now.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Keeping with the theme of evidence base, I think there's plenty of evidence, isn't there, out there that part of feeling valued in your role or appreciated for all of your hard work, recognition is a really important part of that. And it's a really, really important part of making it feel like a great place to work. I don't matter whatever role you're in. And this is more than receiving awards and certificates and things like that. It's that general appreciation of how hard people are working, and there's lots of ways to do that. So within our particular program, we've got our Value Makers Awards. We have 6 awards that we recognise each year, which are, and I'm going to test myself now, Champion of Change, EDI, Finance Educator, Finance Excellence, Rising Star, and Team Player, I think. So they are recognising all sorts of different contributions that either individuals or teams can make. And last year, I think we had over 100 nominations into the awards and celebrated a few, but all of those were equally sort of worthy of receiving those awards. I have to do a thank you now, because I want to thank the value makers at regional level who support us in this programme and helping us with that process around the really, really hard task of trying to select who were the ones that we recognise in the awards. So again, many hands make light work, a real team effort around some of this stuff. But celebrating success and recognising people's contributions is, I say, more than just the award. So one of the initiatives that we've had for quite some time now is Thank You Thursdays. You might have seen this on our social media feeds, where you can just contact the ONF office and you say, I would like to say thank you to so-and-so just because they've helped me today, or I was really struggling and they offered me some support, or I couldn't do this piece of work and somebody leaned out and leaned in. So
I know months in advance when it's going to be, so I work.
But I just ask you to put yourselves on mute if there's any chance. But thanks ever so much. So yeah, just saying thank you to say it could be a colleague, it could be a team, is a great way for people to feel recognised for the hard work that they're putting in. And a bit of a heads up for you, Simon, for our FFF group next week, our regional value makers group, we were talking about how can we do more in this area. You know, what else can we do in terms of initiatives? Because we think, particularly because everyone's working so hard at the moment, is there anything else that we can add to this agenda? So that's a heads up, because that's coming up from the value makers themselves to say we should do a bit more on this. So that'll be on the agenda. Should we move on to the next slide? I think I might be handing back to you now, Simon.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. Thanks, Suzanne. Okay, so the next bit we do is around demystifying NHS finance. And I suppose we're talking here mainly about events for clinicians and working with clinicians and with managers. Okay. And there's a huge, again, well, firstly, it's a hugely important area. And I don't know if you know or you've noticed in your own organisation, but sometimes there's a little bit of reticence or that feeling that clinicians they're not really interested in our agenda, etc. It's almost we're pushing against them. How can we be pushing against the people, the clinicians who are providing the care for patients? This is not what we're about. So we've got loads of finance for clinicians events, which are incredibly well attended. Hundreds of people, clinicians attend them. All right. So if that is not proof enough that our clinical colleagues do want to think about the key issues of resource management in the NHS and finance and how they can work best to make sure they get the absolute best value for patients. So there's absolutely loads of attendance and those regular events. Okay. So we have the Finance and Clinical Educator Network. So what you'll find in Future Focus Finance and one NHS Finance more generally, there are quite a lot of networks, and sometimes people go, oh, there's too many. But basically, if you're interested in a particular thing, there is always a network that you can join. Yeah, and you can join more than one. It's absolutely fine. Okay, so what the finance and clinical educators do is to recognise those colleagues who spend a lot of time working and training, basically, clinicians and managers in finance and give them support. Okay. So if you do that activity, which many of us do, you can sign up to be a face. You only, you have to do an amount. It doesn't have to be a full-time job. But if you work in financial management, you're definitely eligible to be on the face network. And there's all sorts of support, animations, guides, presentations, showcases, a really valuable thing to get into. And if you're doing those types of jobs where you have to work with clinicians, really valuable thing to do. We're also engaging with our colleagues from Ops who have got their own version of Future Focus Finance, okay, which is called Proud to be Ops. Oh, right. So we're engaging with them. In fact, we're just looking in my trust, just as it happens, we're looking for someone to support us on something, and we've gone out through the Proud to be Ops network to find somebody, and I've had absolutely loads of people volunteering to come and help with it. So again, a very similar thing, and we engage with them. And then for those of us who are involved in costing and using costing for great effect, we're supporting the engagement value outcome initiative with the Innovation Forum, which is another part of One NHS Finance. And I would say just generally, what Future Focus Finance does is we don't like, oh, well, we're that sort of big network of enthusiasts who are wanting to sign up to be positive and wanting to support things. And we generally support everything that happens in One NHS Finance. So that Evo work really helpful in our day-to-day challenge of how we work with clinical colleagues to get the absolute best value we can out of our pound for patients. Okay, so another really successful and sort of groundbreaking piece of work here. All right, so that's demystifying NHS finance. Yeah, thanks.
And we've got 2 trusts starting with the Evo next month, and 1 already signed up to start in April. So hopefully we'll see some good results from that soon to share with you all.
Yeah, fabulous. Thanks, Sophie.
And over to Suzanne.
Brilliant, thank you. So if I guess if the last sort of 40 minutes hasn't convinced you yet, then here's a sort of list of all the different ways that you can get involved. So the networks that we've talked about today are a great entry route in. And if you just look at the chat, actually, Graham, who actually won one of our awards, didn't he? I think Graham, well done, Graham, won one of our Value Makers Awards back in November, has just put a link in there, which is one of our demystifying finance sessions, which again, if you're sort of thinking about how do I better engage my clinical workforce and how do we put that into practice in our organisation, that is a great place to start as well. So please do join that webinar. But there is a whole host of different ways, and I'm hoping that some of these have sparked an interest with you of how you can get involved in as many as you want, or anything that's particularly of interest. So those networks are really well established, but we're always looking for more and more people to be involved. Again, going to the website, you will see a multitude of different webinars, sessions, opportunities to listen and learn. What we try to do in our organisation is if there's a really good one that's on, we'll use one of our lunchtime learning sessions and just play it, because actually it's a really good way of having something pre-prepared that you can engage the whole department on and make sure that we're learning from others. So there's, again, a really practical way to use some of those resources. Accreditation, as Simon has already mentioned, if your organisation is one of those that's not yet accredited, or you're on your accreditation journey, lots of stuff to help you with that. And we haven't really touched on the accreditation assessors, but again, I've been one of those for about 12 years now. A wonderful way to get involved in this programme, and again, steal loads of ideas to bring back to your own organisation whilst you do it. But that is a real insight into how you can help your own organisation as well on its journey of accreditation. And we're always looking for more people to get involved and sign up to that. So if that's something that would interest you, that helps yourself and helps your team, then please do get involved. And then a final shout out, because there's something that we can all do on the careers side and the careers website. So promoting it within our own networks, our own organisations, working with others. We've just done something, actually, again, shameless promotion of my own organisation now, but we've done some work with our local university, and we've developed a scheme where we bring interns in. So students who are midway through their university degrees are coming to spend just 2-week placements over the summer period. And we did that last year. And just for that 2-week period, it gave them a bit of a taster of what it is to be working in NHS finance. And I met with them at the start of that 2-week programme and at the end of that 2-week programme. And at the start, they didn't really know much about the NHS. And I checked in at the end and said, would you consider the NHS as a career now? And they were absolutely committed to that. They said, we want to come and work in the health service. We didn't realise how great this could be as an opportunity. We'd not really even considered it, actually. And that to me was an absolute, worth its weight in gold. If some really great talented people who hadn't already thought about it are thinking about it, then that's sort of job done. Wonderful. And we can all do that. We can all sort of reach out and speak to people and promote it. So like I say, whichever level, whichever bit that interests you, there is definitely a role for everybody, I'm hoping, with what we've shared with you today. So I think I'm handing over you, Sam, for the last couple of slides, and hopefully we might have time for a couple of questions if anyone's got any.
Fabulous. Okay, so thanks, Suzanne. So this is just a little slide that shows you the sort of future focused finance journey from back in 2013 when it was first thought about by, what's it say there? A round table conversation being held between the most senior of all professional body bar, right? Well, it's moved on a long way. It was a sort of a bit of a top-down idea at the beginning. You can see if you and are we sending the slides round, Sophie? Is that what we're doing? Yeah, wonderful. You can see if you have a proper look later how it's developed. So really good thing. But starting 2014, we got 70 applications for the first cohort of value makers. Okay, and continued to develop things by, when was it? July 2019. Where does it say we have 1,000 value makers? But anyway. We went at a certain point in time. We sort of moved things onto it to be more of a mass movement. Over that period, we got what we've got now of over 3,000 value makers, and it's a huge thing in finance in the NHS now. Accreditation, you can see how that's developed. First accreditation applications approved by Finance Leadership Council, 2017. Now we've got 83% of the organisations in the country are accredited. Okay, so it's a wonderful story, and that the sort of ball got rolling, and it rolling. It's rolling faster all the time, and our objective really is that everybody should feel that they're a value maker and want to join in, but they do that because they want to do it, yeah, rather than they have to. Okay, so thanks for that slide, Sophie. And here's some of the nice things that people have said. So. Being a value maker has introduced me to a new generation of finance staff outside my organisation, and I've been inspired by their enthusiasm, ideas and creativity. Yeah, that's a really good point, that one, because I don't know, when I first started work years ago, it was very difficult. There wasn't anything like social media or anything like that. Who are all these people? What's happening all around in the country? It was very difficult to know and find out. And then for a period of time in the sort of early part of this century, the NHS went through the Foundation Trust movement, etc. And there was a lot of, I'm going to hold all this thing to myself. We're all independent organisations and competitive advantage, all that. So one of the most wonderful things about future focused finance and One NHS Finance is that just everybody sharing of what we're doing and supporting what we're doing. So here's another one from Rebecca. I've been saying to everyone that you get more out of future focused finance than you put in, and I've seen clear evidence of that through the Value Maker Network. So that's a really nice one. Suzanne, you said one here. To every Value Maker, thank you for your ideas, your commitment and your positivity. So that's wonderful. All right. And I'm choosing the ones that are in big writing because I need to go to the optician. I need to sort my glasses prescription out. Yeah, level 1 accreditation has been more than an application. It's been an engagement process across the whole team and managed largely autonomously way. Right. It has created a real buzz with 150 strong, recently managed team. We will share how we got the team enthusiastic, taking regular small actions to create significant and exciting change in only 3 months. Fun has been a key factor. There you go. So that is, if you think about all that, many hands make light work, and don't just leave it to the deputy. Get everybody involved. that that statement there is real testament to that. So hopefully that's given you a really good insight into what future focused finance is, okay, and a feeling of the positivity and value you get out of it, okay. So we've got a little bit of time, so we'll finish the presentation now. If anyone has any questions, we'd be delighted to answer them. It's always a bit daunting, isn't it? There's lots of people on the call from different organizations, etc. Don't, you know, but that's not the ethos of future focused finance. If you feel you've got a question, it will be a really good question, and various other people will be thinking that as well. So please just do ask. Okay. So, well, we're waiting for that first hand to go up now. Has anybody got a question?
There's one in the Teams chat. Does
excellent.
have a framework or a template that can be used for a skills audit? Well, we have the competency framework.
Yes.
And we have a self-assessment thing for skills and what you need to reach the next level. So we can send you links to that when we send out the slides.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, I should have said, if you don't want to, if you're a bit nervous about coming on with so many people, just pop some comment in the chat. That's absolutely fine. Okay. All right. Well, we're not getting any questions so far. That's all right. Don't worry. If you have got any questions that you think of later, you can easily email them in to NHS Finance, and the team there will get back to you. Okay. But I just want to recognise we're all really busy. You'll have got a lot on, so you've taken the time to join the call. So you must be interested. So thanks so much for doing that, and really encourage you on your journey of joining into the Future Focus Finance network and all that can bring for you positive benefits. Okay, so shall we end the session then, Sophie, or shall we? Have we got,
there's just one more question. Does anyone have business case which includes sustainability? Sarah, we've got the virtual Teams network, which has got 5,000 people on it, where you can add. If you tag the group, then it'll go out to all 5,000 people. So I'm sure somebody in that group will be able to help you with that. Yeah. I'll send a link through now so how you can join the virtual network. But every day we see people asking for help with anything they've got, any problems they've got, or people just asking to share policies, and every day people come back and help with that. So it's a really good way of connecting with people from different organisations. But yes, I want to say thank you very much to Suzanne and Simon. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your fantastic leadership of this programme. It's been invaluable and is invaluable. And hope everybody has a nice weekend, and we'll get the slides sent out today. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks a lot, everybody. Keep smiling. Okay. Cheers. Have a good weekend. Yeah.